Okay, Sir Wood, Sir Ron, I will give you the floor na po.
Yung slide po.
Hey, thank you, Sir Fred.
Lang po sir, i-promote lang po natin yung ating OUS video.
The Pangasinan State University's Open University System is a special project that delivers services in instruction, research, extension, and production through a non-traditional delivery system. Established in 1996 and was formally launched at PSU Lingayen in March 1997, the PSU OUS was born out of the need to respond to the unique requirements for further professional and technical development of career people, administrators, and workers who may not have the time or opportunity to attend or perform the regular university programs. Former Speaker Jose de Venencia was then instrumental in the funding of the initial 2 years of operation of the system. Likewise, Dr. Alfredo F. Aquino, the father of PSU Open University System, showed exceptional performance and commitment to bequeathing legacy among PSU employees, clients, and stakeholders. As provided by the PSU Code and specifically lifted from Chapter 47 entitled The Open University System, the institution generally aims to pursue the transformation of globally competitive workers in the various professions in agriculture and industrial fields to increase the national capacity for productivity. The Open University System offers graduate programs through non-traditional multimedia and distance education systems for employed professionals who need to pursue higher education but are denied the opportunity due to constraints and other limitations. In addition, PSU OUS uses the general strategy to attain its objective through the distance education multimedia interactive systems and information highway through the World Wide Web. With its directors, PSU Open University System ultimately progressed in time with a wider and more innovative array of the fourfold functions of the university. Up to this day, the Open University Systems of PSU is committed to lead passionate students that pursue learning quality education in every obtainable opportunity. Be the best at PSU Open University System.
Pangasinan State University Open University Systems presents EDM312 Webinar Series 1. The subject is Financing Educational Systems. This is an academic symposium sponsored by the Doctor of Education, major in Educational Management. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Woodward, and together with me is Sir. Good morning.
Good morning, sir, and Mr. Ronnie Lambosa Morgan.
Yes, today is June 12, 2022. Happy Independence po sa lahat. Sa mga single dyan, independent na independent po tayo. Just joking. So yun po. So Sir Ronnie, kamusta po dyan sa America?
Actually right now it's evening here. Actually, good evening here in the US. So yeah, I'm so very excited to our webinar today. So we will really be able to learn a lot, hopefully.
Yeah, based from our subject, financing educational system, I'm very excited to learn more about this, especially at our major is educational management. Do you know, Sir Ron, that education continues to receive the highest allocation in our national budget? And now with the adoption of the Basic Education Development Plan of 2030, I hope that we as a nation could use our resources effectively and properly through our respected agencies and administrators in education. So how about you, Sir Ronnie? Do you think that Philippines could catch up in what you are experiencing now there in America?
That is very timely and relevant right now because, one of the main problems that we are facing in the Philippine system is the budget right now. So they need to, to study more and needs to have more policy in terms of implementing the budgets, because here in the United States right now, we are very fully equipped and support in terms of the budget by the government, by Department of State, as well as the Department of Education. So hopefully the Philippines, because they are studying right now how to implement those policy and the use of budget properly. So I think it would be possible, and not only today, but tomorrow and the generations to come in terms of those budget that we're going to implement in the Philippines.
Agree. Kaya nga, sir, sa in-experience mo ngayon, mapapasana all na lang po kami. But we are still hopeful. Okay, so we'll not take this long. I believe, sir, we'll have 2 topics for today. The school-based management and resources and the Government Procurement Reform Act. Okay, so for our preliminaries, okay, so slide, sir. Sir. Okay, so it is always right to invoke God's name in everything we do. So may I request everyone to prepare their hearts as we are going to have our prayer to be followed by the singing of the Philippine National Anthem, the ASEAN Hymn, and the University Hymn.
Almighty God, we beseech you that you enlighten us with hope and faith in every course of our lives. We place ourselves in your care through these tough times. As the pandemic continues to threaten us, we fervently pray that this coronavirus will finally vanish in our lives so we can live as much better than today. Father, touch the hearts of those who make decisions that affect people, communities, countries, and the whole world. Give them the wisdom and ability to handle this pandemic with care and lead us to full recovery and healing as one nation and one world. Awaken our spirits with peace, especially to those who feel depression or anxiety. Wrap your loving arms around us and ease our weary thoughts. Bless our beloved administrators, employees, and students with good health, that they continue illuminating the community with truth, knowledge, and wisdom. Father, we implore that you remain to be our beacon of hope, comfort, and strength. We thank you for all the blessings you've bestowed in this precious life. In your mercy, may our petitions be heard. Amen.
Mga kababayan, ang pambansang awit ng Pilipinas.
Kayang mag-ibig, helas ng sinakanan, alam ng puso, sa titik mo'y buhay. Lupang hinirang, tuyang ka ng magiting, sa manlulupin, di ka pasisingin, sa dagatang tutok sa simoy at sa langit mong pagaw, ay hinatang tulang awit sa pagkayang minamahal. Ang isang ng matawad mo'y tagumpay na nag-iindig, ang bituin at araw niya kailan pa may di magtitingin. Luman ang araw ng walhaging pagsinta, buhay langit sa piling mo. Ang inigaya ng pagkay mga amin, ang mamatay ng dahil sa'yo.
For the acknowledgement of our participants for today's webinar, may I call in Ms. Edelyn Arsena, PSOUS EDD student and currently a special education teacher in Thailand.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ronnie. Okay, so hello and welcome to today's webinar Series 1, EDM312 Financing Educational System. So I just wanted to acknowledge all the participants from the Philippines, USA, and Thailand who are with us for today's webinar. Thank you, everybody, first of all, for joining. Certainly, we welcome our handsome and expert resource speakers, Dr. Aris S. Barago, Principal 2 of Lamon Bay School of Fisheries from Gumaca, Quezon Province, and Mr. Joji D. Robedillo, Administrative Officer 2 of Taliban National High School, Pagbilao, Quezon Province. But I also really want to acknowledge our dearest and high caliber professors, Dr. Erna M. Salazar, Deputy Director for Academic Research and Extension, PSU OUS, Dr. Renato Salcedo, Professor of PSU OUS, and Dr. Philip G. Coroda, Executive Director, PSU OUS. We are very, very pleased to see 34 participants. Please feel free to fully participate your voices in the Q&A portion of our webinar. Your opinions and thoughts are absolutely welcome and appreciated in the discussion. Once again, thank you all for taking time out and being here today.
Thank you very much, Ma'am Adeline, for acknowledging the presence of our participants and our resource speakers as well. So now, to give us the objectives of this webinar, to give us an overview and to align our expectations into this webinar's objectives, may I call in one of the EDD students and the person behind Kinder Activities Facebook page with more than 6,000 followers now. Please welcome Miss Michelle Hermoso.
Thank you so much, Sir Woodward, for that amazing introduction. Am I audible? Okay.
Yes,
So,
yes.
Good morning from a beautiful morning from Thailand to the rest of the world. Okay, so my task is to present to you the objectives of our webinar. Sir Fred? Okay, so the first purpose of this webinar is for doctorate students to acquire first-hand information and comprehensive guide to school management. The following are just some of the questions, but not limited to, and we are hoping that our speakers can answer based on their experiences. First is, what is school-based management in the Department of Education? What are the advantages? How does school-based management affect the roles of the school board and the superintendent and the district office? How are the budget decisions made? How are decisions made at the school level? What is necessary when implementing school-based management? What are the liabilities of the school-based management? Where has school-based management been implemented? Why assess? Why do we need to assess the school-based management practices? What is the matrix of scale of practice and who answers the tools? The second purpose is to reflect on the necessity of the Government Procurement Reform Act and to explore the advantages of its necessary rules that promise to address the lack of transparency and competition in government procurement, eliminate collusion and interference, and lessen the delay in the procurement process. The third and final purpose is for doctorate students to internalize on the implications of these topics to their future role in the field of quality and 21st century education. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ma'am Michelle, for that webinar objectives for today. So to formally open our webinar, to give us the opening remarks for today's webinar, let me introduce to you our very dynamic assistant professor for and program advisor of Doctor of Education's program, PSOUS, Open university systems, and a senior high school principal and university K to 12 focal persons at Pangasinan State University Lingayen campus, and also a scholar of the National Government Career Executive Service Development Program of the Development Academy of the Philippines. Please welcome Dr. Renato Salcedo.
Okay, thank you very much. Ron and Woody. Okay, nice to see you again, my dear students from Thailand. And okay, thank you for your generous introduction. I am no longer the senior high school principal and the university K to 12 focal person. Ayan, so I am currently on a study leave, okay, for my master's degree in development management. And despite of my busy schedule, I'm still juggling my time as a scholar and at the same time as a faculty member of the Open University Systems. Okay, and it is just unfortunate that this mid-year and first semester I will not take any teaching load, okay, for sa OUS because of my study leave. Okay, but nevertheless, okay, my heart is always with the Open University system. So first, at the onset, I would like to welcome you all, particularly our guests. We have Sir. I was looking at the presentation a while ago. Okay, so I would like to welcome and give my heartfelt thanks, okay, to Dr. Aris is Barago, the principal too of Lamon Bay School of Fisheries, Gumaca, Quezon Province, and of course, Mr. George D. Rubidilio, Administrative Officer too of Talipan National High School, also in Quezon Province. They will be formally introduced later. And I also would like to uh, express my heartfelt gratitude to the professor of section nyo, Michelle or Frederick, anong section nyo? Section B, I believe. Okay,
Section B po.
Doctor, okay, Erna M. Salazar. Okay, finally mag-marcha na si Ma'am. So congratulate Ma'am Erna Salazar, who is an expert when it comes to economics and financial management. Okay, so then I also would like to express my thanks also, of course, with the support of our very hardworking executive director, Dr. Philip Queroda, and to the deputy directors of PSU OUS. We have Dr. Romary R. Lingkod, and of course also Dr. Erna Salazar. Okay, so why do we need to discuss financial management? Okay, one of my professors in the Development of Academy said of the Philippines said that as a government, as a public servant, it is important for you to make sure that you would not tarnish your name, okay, through corruption, through bribery. Ang pinaka-importante pa rin yung pangalan mo. Despite of the fact na meron kang doctor, MDM, PhD sa pangalan mo, hindi yan importante. What is important is, okay, your untarnished name. So, financial management is very important for us, okay, to make sure that the finances of the school are managed properly, okay, the resources are handled properly, the resources, the investments that we make in our facilities, school facilities, is worth, okay, is worth it, and it will benefit, okay, our primary stakeholders, which are the students, of course. So knowing how to handle, prepare the schools, maintaining and other operating expenses is one way of making sure that finances are handled properly. So I know for a fact that our speakers for today would enlighten us with regards to different topics on financial management, including school-based management and resources and government procurement reform act. Okay. Ayan, so I would not make my speech long because I know that the participants here, the EDM 3112 students, are very eager to learn more about how to manage a school financially. Okay, how to handle fiscal management. Okay, so with that, magandang umaga po sa ating lahat. Good morning, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Doc Renato, for that very warm welcome and opening remarks. So now we will proceed to the webinar house rules. So may I call in one of the EDD students and one of the teacher of International Pioneer School, Bangkok, Thailand. Please welcome Ms. Shalilay Kabi.
Good morning. Yes. Good morning to our professors, speakers, fellow EDD students, and participants. So let me read to you our webinar house rules. Sir Fred? Good day, participants. Please be reminded of the following house rules. They'll make the webinar more enjoyable and productive. Rule number 1, be on time. Log in or sign in 15 minutes before the webinar. Rule number 2, dress appropriately. Rule number 3, situate yourself in quiet place so there will be no disruption. Rule number 4, turn off your microphone during the webinar unless you are asked to respond. Rule number 5, listen attentively to give respect to the speaker. Rule number 6, inquiries and clarification will only be entertained after the talk or if the speaker calls for it. Rule number 7, please use the chat box for your concerns. Wait until you are recognized and the facilitator will attend to you. Rule number 8, keep an open mind as you listen to the speaker. Rule number 9, respect co-attendees or co-participants. And rule number 10, should you have any clarifications and concerns about the webinar, you may chat personally the technical working group before, during, after the webinar. Thank you.
Sir Ron, naka-mute ba?
Sorry, I'm muted. Sorry, because we are on live. Thank you, Ma'am Shali, for giving us that webinar house rules for today. To formally introduce our speakers for today's webinar, may I call on Ms. Charlotte Yuzon, an EDD student and a professor of Buriram Rajabat University in Thailand.
Yes, good morning. Am I audible, sir?
Yes, po.
Thank you, Sir Ron. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Sawadee ka. It's a great pleasure for me to introduce our speaker this morning, who is going to talk to us about the school-based management and resources. Dr. Aris S. Barago is a principal to Atlaman-based School Fisheries at Gumatal, Quezon. He is a graduate of Bachelor of Science in Secondary Education, major in General Science in 2002 at Sacred Heart College, Lucena City, where he has also obtained his Master's of Arts of Education major in Physical Science in 2010 at the same institution. He finished his Doctor of Philosophy major in Educational Management at Southern Luzon State University in 2016, and currently he is now on earning his second Doctor of Philosophy in Development Studies at University of the Philippines, Las Bañas, Laguna, under DepEd Region 4, a scholarship program. He is also holder of a following certification license: CSE Sub-Professional, Professional Level, Licensure Examination for Professional Teachers, Principal's Test, Career Executive Service Examination or CESWE, Test the Trainer's Methodology Certificate 1 holder, and C1 and 2 in automated servicing. A various engagement as evaluator, panelist, research speaker, facilitator, technical working committee member, and research presenter across the national, regional, and divisions level. A member of division fact-finding and formal investigation of DepEd Kazan. A loving husband to his wife and a father of 3 to beautiful children. Let us welcome, ladies and gentlemen, please join me welcoming Dr. Aris Barago.
Thank you, Ma'am Charlotte. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Renato Salcedo, to our MCs, Sir Woodward and Sir Ron, and of course to Frederick for inviting me here. So when Frederick invited me, I always say yes to him because he is a good friend of mine. So without further ado, let me share my screen. Can you see my screen now, moms and sirs?
Yes,
Hello.
po, sir.
Yes, thank you so much. So today I will be discussing about school-based management of resources. And as you can see, school-based management is, of course, practiced everywhere. And the time of our secretary, Leonor Briones, who happened to be also a good financial manager, is always saying that school-based management should be practiced at DepEd. Hence, we always adapt and practice what she said. So for today, we will be discussing about school-based management of resources. And of course, the main topic here is school-based management. And I aligned my talk to your course, EDM312, Financing Educational Systems. And I think this is part of a webinar series. So, hi friends. Again, good morning, Dr. Renato Salcedo, Mr. Frederick P. Obniala, and EDM312 students of Pangasinan State University. So this is the advantage of a virtual presentation. You can reach everyone, anywhere, anytime. For the objectives, I will define the school-based management, discuss the SBM conceptual framework, identify the components of access, which means a child and community-centered education system, and explain the access principles, share best practices in school-based management of resources. So from time to time, I will be talking about SBM, access, and I think these terms are also familiar to you. So school-based management is the decentralization of decision-making authority to schools. So it is all common to us that when we say decentralization, definitely the chief or the head or the school head, as defined in the role, is that he is the one who anchored and who is the master of the ship. But of course, talking about the schools, it is the school head. In the Philippines, we have different meaning when we say school head. When we say a school head, he can be a teacher who is assigned as a teacher in charge. He can be a head teacher, which ranks from head teacher 1, 2, and 3. So you can be handling a school if you are given the rank head teacher 1, head teacher 2, or head teacher 3. And that is for the case of elementary schools. Because in the secondary schools, head teachers are handling different departments such as science department, English department, or mathematics department. So that is for head teachers. in the secondary level, or you can be a principal 1. For the setup in the Philippines, we have principal 1, principal 2, 3, and 4. Just like me, I am handling a position, principal 2. And I've been principal 1 for almost 5 years. And sooner will be principal 3 or principal 4. And that is the hierarchy. So let's think it over. I think Sir Ron, can you help me facilitate this question? Maybe you can read the answers of our participants coming in. So let's have this one. You can type in your answers, and Sir Ron will help us facilitate your answers. How is decentralization practiced in your school? So can you cite activities or programs or projects that you are doing that exemplifies decentralization? So can I see your answers? Yeah, we have answers coming here. Misinformation, that is an answer by Frederick. Especially we have teachers or administrators coming from different countries. Can you cite your examples? How is decentralization practiced in your school? Yeah, delegating work, shared decision making, shared governance, shared accountability. I think, Sir Ron, I will just read.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Crafting of SIP, yeah, that's very timely. Are there other answers? So from Sir Jomar, crafting of, from Ma'am Mary Jane, delegation, shared governance, shared responsibility, and accountability. From Sir Jomar, identifying the work and financial plan. So there are so many answers. Thank you for participating. The schools has a bigger decision making in Republic Act 9155. Yeah, that's correct. Okay, thank you for answering. We have questions later. Yung mga nagsagot, very good kayo sa sa participation. Thank you so much. So, decentralization is practiced in your school, as suppose you have answered. And school-based management underscores the empowerment of the stakeholders in school communities to enable them to actively participate in the continuous improvement of schools towards the attainment of higher pupil student learning outcomes. If you will be teaching in Japan, this is called Kaizen. Kaizen means continuous improvement. If you will be working in a company, just like me, I have worked at Mitsubishi Motors for almost 5 years, and I am part of the quality circle, or what we call the Kaizen team of the school. We usually suggest improvement either in the production level, in the marketing level, which just promotes productivity and increase in sales. So in the school level, we can say that stakeholders are free to participate and to suggest improvement, of course, towards the attainment of higher pupil student learning outcomes. And of course, that is the main objective of what we are doing for the students. So I have here another let's think it over question. How does your school empower key stakeholders? This is the next question. How does your school empower key stakeholders or key school stakeholders? Okay, I will be waiting for your answers. How does your school empower key stakeholders? By involving them in planning sessions, involving them in decision making, needs assessment, planning and participation. Thank you, Sir Cyrus, Ma'am AJ. Transparency of information. Very good. You're using your experience and your knowledge of what's happening in the school. Thank you so much. Involvement in school. So let them decide on some matters regarding learners by Ma'am Maria Elena. Involvement in school activities and transparency and other issues in school. Encouraging participation in all events by Ma'am Michelle. Plan and support them from Ma'am Venus. Thank you so much. Community and development, that's also correct. Because as we know, the school is really a community of learners, building trust among stakeholders. Oh, that's amazing. Other answers? Thank you, Ma'am Brittany. Yan. From Ma'am Lisa, active participation by empowering the key stakeholders in school. Thank you so much. Okay, so let's hear other answers from my next Let's Think It Over portion. So to continue, school-based management encompasses the diverse realities of learning context and uniquely occurring within specific geographical, social, cultural, economic, political, and environmental makeup of the contemporary society. You know, I have been a school head for almost 8 years now, and I have experienced being a school head in 2 different municipalities. In Mauban, Quezon, usually, because this is near Tayabas, near Lucena, they have this practice of usually drinking after work. They have this tradition of drinking nipa wine or coconut wine. And so if you are a school head and you will be part of the planning and the community will be inviting you, for sure there will be issues, there will be concerns that will be addressed to you once you join their drinking sessions. And basically, if you are a no drinker or a suplado type of person, then people will not go to your office because they want to lobby these questions after work. So that is, I think, a culture, a social phenomena. But in Gumaka, where I am a school head now, usually they are aggressive in addressing issues and concern. Specifically, I go to the office at 8. At 7, they are waiting for me to address concerns pertaining to students. So they are really head-on asking questions and making suggestions. So this is diverse. We have 2 different municipalities in the same province, but they have different approaches in addressing problems, concerns. So that can be cultural. And in Mauban, since Mauban is a well-to-do municipality, because we have, of course, the Mauban Quezon Power Limited. Once you said to the mayor that we need printers, we need a bunch of bond paper, then it will be given to you. But now, since I am on a different municipality, things have changed. So that's really a diverse situation. So considering these things, I have another question for all of you. What geographic, social, cultural, economic, political, and environmental makeup of your school is unique? You can cite only one. It can be geographic, social, cultural, economic, political, and environmental as well. You can type in your answers now. what? Geographic, social, cultural, economic, political, and environmental makeup of your school is unique. So the question is now leveling up. You have to discern, you have to reflect on what makes your school unique. Oh, yan. Giving them chance to sell their products. Ma'am Michelle said that there is cultural diversity, which is correct. Students who are part of the Hill tribe, it makes culture diverse. Yeah, that's correct. And from Sir Ronald, people in their school are transparent. Yeah, political, especially here in the Philippines. It's very political. It's social. Yan. So cultural activities. So Mambinos promote critical thinking skills. Well, that's a good practice where students are taught to practice critical thinking skills. Aside from doing rote memory. So Frederick, diverse community in our school is a Catholic school. Most students and non-teaching are mostly comprises of Thai. And there is difference in terms of religion. Thank you, Frederick. Thank you. In terms of political in Thailand, it's a sensitive issue. Wow. So you better watch out for your words for sure. And what is your political view, specifically if you are a teacher or an administrator? Thank you, Charlotte. Thank you. Okay, I think answers are not coming in. I will proceed with my discussion. By the way, thank you for typing in your answers. So this will make our interaction great. And I can see your point of view also. Okay. So this is the SBM conceptual framework. If you can see in the SBM conceptual framework, at the center is, of course, the functionally literate citizen. And within this are, of course, the processes: plan, assess, accredit, evaluate, monitor, implement the structure. And we have the pillars of SBM: leadership and governance, curriculum and learning, K-12, accountability and continuous improvement, and our focus for today, resource management. And we have, of course, the BESRA, or the Basic Education Sector Reform Agenda. Now we have the DepEd Educational Plan, the DEDP. And of course, these are coming from the central region division all the way down to the school. And all of this are, of course, under one DepEd vision mission goals. So to discuss deeply the framework is systems oriented. It means all the parts are connected and interconnected, and they affect each other. It presents the envisioned product of SBM and the inputs and processes needed to come up with the product. The envisioned product is, of course, a functionally literate citizen. And according to Republic Act 9155, this defines this citizen as one who is self-reliant, productive, and patriotic. In addition, the Constitution mandates that he or she should be science and technologically oriented. So based on that discussion, my question is, of course, this is a broad question, and I think all of you have answers for this. Let's think it over. What is education? What is schooling? So I'll be waiting for your answers now. Yan, even Buddhist Thai students and teachers, they practice Roman Catholic. So for my next question, what is education? What is schooling? Oh, they are really reflecting on this basic question. And sometimes, these basic questions are the most difficult to answer. Diba? Yan. From Ma'am Shali, education is a continuous process. Yeah. Education is Kaizen, continuous improvement. Education is lifelong. Schooling is time-bound. Yan. So there's a difference. Wherein education is lifelong. We are all lifelong learners. And of course, schooling is time-bound. And for Sir Jomar, learning takes place. Yan. Thank you for your short but meaty answers. Education is an investment. Yes, in terms of economic point of view, education is really an investment. Education is an integral part of one's nation. Yan. From Sir Ron, education is systematic instruction. Yan. Education is acquired anywhere and everywhere. Yan. Education is acquiring new skills and understanding. Wow, thank you. I think everyone typed in their answer. Schooling is the training ground. Yeah, that's correct. Education is a lifelong process. Schooling is formalized element of education. From Ma'am Julie, education involves the formal and informal ways of acquiring knowledge, while schooling stands for the main and secondary stage of formal education that takes place in the school. Wow, you have very good answers. And I think you have reflected well on the meaning of these two words. And as I have said, really, these are simple questions, but this really needs a lot of thinking. Education is an important tool to everybody's life. Wow. Sabi nga, just like the question, yes and no are the oldest and simplest word, but they require the most thought, di ba? Schooling is a process of education, and according to Sir Ronald, I think it's part of the educational process, schooling. So thank you for your answers, and I really enjoyed reading your answers, and you are a bunch of geniuses in terms of analyzing and defining education. So this is my answer for that question. Education is something worthwhile, not mere acquisition of skills, but involves transformation, something learners opt into. So when we say education, it is not just when we acquire skills, but it is our transformation. And of course, it is something that we opt into and something that we chose for. It is education. And education is, of course, in the utilitarian point of view, is to serve the society, improve economic and industrial growth, and consequently, the contentment of the populace. So if all the people in the world are educated, then there will be contentment and there will be improvement for sure in the economic and industrial arena. In the utilitarian perspective. And of course, we have theories here on the neoclassical theories and all others relative to economics. And again, the SBM conceptual framework, the output is a result of an interactive and collective problem-solving process that continuously raises the level of SBM practice until it culminates in the accreditation of the school. So later on, I will be answering the objectives which I have captured earlier. And the process is enhanced and facilitated by a self-managing, self-renewing learning community that assumes responsibility for a basic education of all types of learners. So when you say self-managing, then the people are empowered, self-renewing, so feedback mechanisms are allowed, and that everyone is part of the learning community. Sabi nga sa Tagalog, pare-parehas tayong nagplano, sama-sama tayong gumawa ng plano at nag-suggest, nagbigay ng mga interventions, ng mga solutions, then sama-sama rin nating mararating yung objective natin. Hindi pwede na isa lang ang nagplano at pagdating doon, idadamay mo yung iba, di ba? So the context of SBM is the school learning community itself to which the learner belongs. An intensive situational analysis of factors that impact learning is done to develop an educational plan that is responsive to contextual issues, problems, challenges, threats, and opportunities. That is why we all know that the SWOT analysis is an important tool in conducting interventions or in answering problems and issues relative to threats and challenges. Sabi nga, wag na natin gamitin masyado yung term na problems because when we say problems, it's always with us. But when you say challenges, when we are challenged, we are being we are tasked to look for solutions, and that when we are challenged, we tend to be stronger and wiser. And of course, we have the central office, the regional office, and the division office to provide technical, professional, and administrative support and also oversee that policies are being observed, standards are being met, and programs are being implemented. So in the division level, we all know that they have divided the task assigned for personnel. We have the CID, the Curriculum Implementation Division, and of course the SGOD, the Schools Governance Operations Division. That is the setup for the Philippines, wherein the education program supervisors are in charge in managing the curriculum vis-a-vis the subject area, and the School Governance Operations is the support system to the Curriculum Implementation Division. So here are some pictures of division and regional personnel giving technical assistance to our school. And of course, the boundary of the system denotes openness to inputs from the external environment, as well as a resistance to change that may endure its systematic integrity and stability. And schools must allow the framework to continuously morph and develop on the basis of its experience to meet the emerging needs of the learning community. And again, I have this question to all of you. What are the challenges that you have encountered for the past 2 years as an education specialist, teacher, master teacher, school head, or supervisor? Okay, I'll be waiting for your answers now. Saan ko siya itatago? What are the challenges that you have encountered for the past 2 years as an education specialist? Yan. Limited number of SLMs. The learning gaps. Yan. Included yan sa learning gaps yung mga learning loss. Yan. Pagpasok ng estudyante, nahihirapang bumasa. Ayan, nahihirapang magsulat. Yan. And they lack the motor skills. Yan. So student, yan. Miscommunication, limited resources. That's correct. Due to the pandemic. Thank you, Ma'am Maria Elena. Other answers? Challenges. Miscommunication. Poor reading proficiency, Ma'am Juliper. That's correct. Difficulty in reaching the learners. That's also correct because teachers are tasked to do so many things. Yan. Inadequate financial support for resources in Thailand. Is there a lack of interest in English to make it more appealing to them? Thank you, Sir Woodward. Overuse of technology in terms of copying information. So the answers are not so valid. Lack of focus of students, yeah, because of so many distractions. Yan. Unequal distribution of teaching periods. Many students are not independent enough to study. Yan, paying internet bills, no failing policy, the mass promotion, as we said in the Philippines. Yan. Fake news, that's also correct. Yung mga marites, lack of proper HR, yan, human resource management, that's correct. Inadequate resources for the printing of SLMs. And many other factors which we can see as challenges or any other answers covering workloads for teachers who are always absent. Yan. So, Ma'am Shali, yeah, that's correct. So, nakarelate si Sir Woodward. Siguro, lagi siyang na-assign sa mga earring teachers. Budget is reallocated for pandemic, COVID. Yan, too much paperwork. Palakasan system. Yeah. Kaya sometimes it's called sports within the education system kasi palakasan. Personal self, behavior of learners. Yan. Same is true here. Delayed salaries. Talking alone, online class, salaries. Yan. And hybrid teaching online and on-site at the same time. Yeah, that's correct. Because if you are doing the modules, sometimes there are students who are also online, so you will be doing at the same time. Racism in school and remote learning. Difficulty of promotion. Yeah. Teachers are undercompensated. So let's pray and hope that teachers will be compensated well come next administration. Thank you. Your answers are well taken. And I am digesting it now for further discussion. So you can type in your answers as long as you want for this. Sige. More prone to COVID kasi si kids gala ng gala tapos si teacher nasa bahay lang. Yan, Sir Woodward, that's correct. Thank you so much. Okay, so for that let's think it over portion. So these are the guiding principles of assessment system. So those are of course the importance of the SBM, and we have the guiding principles: leadership and governance, curriculum and learning, accountability and continuous improvement, and of course the last one, management of resources. So when we say access, it is a child and community-centered education system. And of course, this one is strengthening the practice of school-based management. So for each principle, when you say leadership and governance, it is a network of leadership that provides the vision and direction to the education system, making it relevant and responsive to the context of diverse communities. It is also about nourishing sustainable partnerships to harness education goals and resources. So as school head, as educational leaders, we need to address the diverse communities. Yan, gaya na yung mga non-native speakers. So dapat meron tayong mga programs to enhance speaking of English and communication. And then sustainable partnerships to harness education goals and resources. Later on, I will be discussing strategies which I have practiced and done relative to the challenges that you have, of course, exhibited. Next is curriculum and learning. The learning systems collaboratively developed and continuously improved and anchored in the community and learners' context and aspirations. So I think for us teachers, we have less problems in terms of curriculum and learning because we are used to play with the curriculum. We are used to localization, indigenization, and all others. For accountability and continuous improvement, it is a clear, transparent, inclusive, and responsive accountability system which is in place, collaboratively developed by community stakeholders, which monitors expected and actual performance, continuously addresses the gaps, and ensures a venue for feedback and redress. So as school heads, as teachers, of course, we are accountable for the learning of our students, and that we should always practice continuous improvement. And the last one, management of resources. Resources are collectively and judiciously mobilized and managed with transparency, effectiveness, and efficiency. So much for the discussion on SBM, and as it is aligned on somehow on the management of resources. So I will be sharing to you now the actual practices and best practices which I have done as a school head, as a principal, and here are they. So the first one is educate yourself. Learn the economics of education. As a principal, you should not let yourself stagnant. Meron niyang saying, sabi, a rolling stone gathers no moss. A rolling stone gathers no moss. So if you are the stone, if you will stay input, steady, then you will gather moss, and soon you will be turned into sand. But if you keep on rolling and you keep on removing the moss around you, then you will be a very fine stone. And that is educating. So continue to study, continue to, as what you are doing, after finishing your first PhD from Pangasinan State University, take another PhD, then another one, take law, continue studying, go to UPOU, continue reading. And in terms of management of resources, you also need to learn the economics of education. As a school leader, you have to be knowledgeable on how to relate your inputs to education as per the return of investment. And if you will convert in the economic lens, we, the schools, we, the teachers, are the supplier of education. And the community, the students, of course, they are the recipients. And we all know that in economics, it is the management of scarce resources. So in this time of pandemic, wag na muna magkapintura ng school, wag na muna magpa-repair ng mga hindi naman masyadong kailangan kasi mahalaga ang modules, 'di ba? So prioritize the important ones, and kung kayang mamaluktot, mamaluktot muna kasi what is important is to prioritize delivering and continuing education to our learners. So educate yourself. You have to memorize by heart Republic Act 9184. Yan. That's basic. Me, as a part of the legal team of DepEd Quezon, I am part of the Formal Investigation Committee and Fact-Finding Investigation. We have so many cases pertaining to the misuse of MOOE. And many school heads and sometimes head teachers are formally charged because of their lack of knowledge in the proper use of MOOE. And their gross abuse of not following Republic Act 9184. You can also read the Financial Management Operation Manual. So these are things that you have to learn as future principal, as future school heads, or at current, maybe you have that capacity, you have to continuously read and read. Next, keep yourself updated. Download and read the latest issuances. Sometimes your basis may be a DepEd order, which was already repealed. Then if you will be doing that one, then your practice is not of the latest, is not based on the latest issuances. Next one, you must have a mentor. A mentor is a lifelong mentor, someone who will help you, someone who will teach you and guide you along the way. As a school head, as a teacher, all of us have a mentor. And this is very important, practice transparency. Even a cent should be posted on the transparency board of the school. There should be a regular financial report in every meeting, what has transpired, what has been used. So practice transparency. If you are transparency in all your dealings pertaining the use of resources, the teachers will be at ease, and they will have no doubts in you as a school head. Always act collaboratively. And in this time of pandemic, this is very important, because when you act collaboratively, you talk to the department heads, you talk to the teacher and ask for their input, for their suggestion, then projects and priority improvement areas in the schools can be addressed. And search out for solutions, benchmark, adapt solutions and innovations. Maybe some schools have this innovation, maybe you can adapt, you can change a little, and you can use, maybe you can read articles with better solutions, then you can adapt, you can use that one to solve challenges emerging in your school. Likewise, there should be equity in decision making. Always remember that when you decide, there are some people who are affected and sometimes who are not included in the planning process, or might not be the, sometimes it might, or activities or output or outcome might not be beneficial to them. So always consider equity in decision making. And another thing, you should also decide on sound data. This is basically what happened if you will be given a technical assistance. You are asking for a technical assistance from the proper authority, but then when you ask for such assistance, you should have your sound data. What is the ratio of the learning modules as to student? What is the enrollment rate? What is the dropout rate? What is the graduation rate? All of this should be on your data bank. It should be memorized by heart. Then adhere with the school's SIP, AIP, and work and financial plan. I don't know what is this called in other countries, but in the Philippines, we have the SIP, the school improvement plan, the annual implementation plan, and the work and financial plan. If you adhere to these documents, then you can also avoid legal problems if there will be charges against you. Always remember that in the legal discourse, when you are charged, the one who's charging you has the burden of evidence, and therefore they should prove well that you are not following. But if you have this SIP, AIP, and work and financial plan, you are safe. And if you follow them, then you are in the right track. Next, establish local funds. In our school, we have, of course, a 10-hectare land, and we have partnership with PNU and other agricultural partners, and we till the land, and we have, of course, local funds to support the printing of modules. The question is, what if we don't have that type of land? Then you can maybe practice vertical gardening, or what's what are the assets of your school. Let's say you are a school which has automotive technology, then maybe you can do basic troubleshooting for the community, or teach them on that you can have local funds. So we are an agri-fishery school, and we are lucky for having that. But you can also establish local funds by thinking of other activities. You can do, now it's open, you can do fun run, you can do basketball tournament, you can do pageants, and all other activities wherein you can establish local funds to support the use of MOOE. And build strong partnership, engage local partners on their core business. This is the problem with looking for local partners, diba? You will be asking furniture shop for bond paper. No, you should ask furniture shop for use wood, so that you can transform them into tables and chairs that students at their home who lack the space in answering the module can be given such tables and chairs. So don't ask for furniture shop or bond papers unless they are, of course, a local bookstore or a supplier of school supplies. So if we have partners who owns restaurant, then we can partner them for feeding programs and all others. So build strong partnerships, and don't forget to secure the memorandum of agreement and memorandum of understanding. And that is what we are doing now. If you lack mentors or tutors, you can partner with different institution. Just like in our school, we are near Lopez Quezon, we are near PNU, PUP, and of course, local private colleges. We partner with them, and they are very willing to help, since these universities and these local colleges also have that can be part of their community extension services, and that will be beneficial to both parties. Next, train your staff, delegate, monitor, and continuously capacitate. You are not Superman, we are not Wonder Woman, we are not superheroes who can do everything. So we have to train our staff, delegate, monitor, and continuously capacitate them, so that work will be easier. And while they are doing our part, or while we have delegated this task to them, we can work on other tasks, such as looking for partners and engaging in other activities, as to monitoring of curriculum as per instruction. Because as instructional leaders, 70% of our work is in ensuring that learning happens. And that you can also develop a strategic communication plan at the school or community level. And this communication plan answers the challenges addressed, that there is always miscommunication at the school level. Sometimes it happened also in the division, regional, and national level. So develop strategic communication plan at the school. In our school, we have the SMIS, the School Management Information System, where all the data are being stored. Telephone numbers of all concerned personnel and teachers are being put into, and we have this plan of communication wherein if no one is available, then who's to answer? Yan. And what are the protocols involving such communication plan? So going back, masyado ako mabilis. Kinapture ko tong webinar objective. So the purpose is, of course, to have the comprehensive guide on the school-based management. I think I have answered this one because I have provided with you with the meaning and the framework. School-based management, I think I have already discussed this one, and advantages. And I think for the advantages of the school-based management, having the school-based management will, of course, involve all the stakeholders, and the delivery of education services is very collaborative. Next, how does school-based management affect the roles of the school board and the superintendent and the district office? Well, it will affect them. Basically, they will have less task on delivering time to time questions, and it will be easy for them to monitor, since these are delegated to the school, and the superintendent will of course just monitor the performance indicators based on, basically what we are doing is we have quarterly meeting, or what we call huntahan, with our superintendent. And for the school board, data will be at hand, because school-based management is also part of the documentation process, and that it is very easy to monitor, and that there will be support system along the way. How are budget decision made? In DepEd, what we are doing is we have two setup. In DepEd, we have the implementing unit. Just like in our school, we are implementing unit. We receive directly the money, the MOOE from the DBM, while for the non-implementing unit, they are receiving the money through the division offices. And for the budget decision made, I think I have answered that one. We have the SIP, the AIP, and work and financial plan. It is based on the PIA, the priority improvement areas, which are translated into the annual implementation plan based on the vision, mission sharing, and of course, collaboration with stakeholders. Thus, decision made is not just solely by the school head, but all the stakeholders concerned. How are decisions made at the school level? So decisions at the school level are collaborative, and it is not decided by the principal alone. What is necessary when implementing school-based management? So again, when we say what is necessary, the most important thing is, of course, the key persons for the school-based management, and that you can assign key personnel for the different areas, so that they will be the one who will document and at least conduct evaluation on a quarterly basis. And what are the liabilities of SBM? This is the main critic of SBM. Some documents are asked in one pillar, at the same time it will be asked in the second pillar. I think that is these are redundant processes for SBM. Likewise, SBM is also document-based, and I think we can convert this to a more systematic online system. That is my suggestion only. Where has school-based management been implemented? In the Philippines, it is implemented until now, and since 1995, school-based management has been implemented, and it has been part of our school systems even today. And it is implemented in all public, secondary, elementary, and integrated schools all throughout the Philippines. Why assess the school-based management practices? Assess the school-based management practices since the level of practice should continuously improve. Yan. What is the matrix or scale of practice? It is based on developing level 1 and then level 2 until level 3. Ito na yung expert level. Who answers the tools? So who answers the tools? Of course, the key persons assigned for each area, but then the matrix and the evidences, what we call the MOBs, are being collected and is being scaled all throughout the validation process in the school level. Of course, the one who finalized that one is the school head. And it is also validated in the district level. If you will be going to level 3, then it is validated by the regional office. So I think I have answered all the questions. So always remember, when everything is uncertain, everything that is important becomes clear. And we as teachers, we as educators, we are all certain and we are clear that what is important is the education of our learners. At naniniwala po ako na ngayong Independence Day, kung tayo po ay 32 dito sa ating webinar na to, naniniwala ako sa sinabi ni General Luna, General Antonio Luna, na ang kalaban natin ay hindi ang mga Amerikano, kundi ang ating mga sarili. Kaya marami po tayong magagawa para sa ating bayan, para mapaunlad ito. At mabago pa ang mga dapat nating baguhin at ma-address ang mga challenges in terms of education. And as my commercial, I am also a blogger. I'm holding a 5.7 subscribers. I'm doing reviews for principal's test, food and travel blogs, and other discussions on relative DepEd orders, memorandum to keep all educators updated in the Philippines. So you can subscribe. Click this red button. You can subscribe and be part of my growing community of learners, and you can be part of the change. So thank you so much. Good day. And again, thank you for inviting me. Thank you so much. I love you all.
Thank you very much, Dr. Aris, for that. We learned a lot from you. Thanks for reminding us that managing school encompasses diverse realities of learning contexts, and that we must learn to empower stakeholders, and we learn to manage them properly as well. And we learn a lot from you, Doc. Thank you very much, Dr.
Thank you.
Aris. And now, to award the certificate of recognition, may I call in one of the BMA or Bangkok Metropolitan Administration teacher and also one of the EDD students. Please welcome Ma'am Normalisa Valenzuela.
Pleasant morning to everyone, especially to our dear professors and guest speakers. On behalf of Doctor of Education students, I would like to congratulate our esteemed resource speaker, Sir, for the very informative and enlightening talk on school-based management resources. With profound appreciation of your time and maximum effort, allow me to present the certificate of recognition. Republic of the Philippines, Pangasinan State University, Open University Systems, Lingayen, Pangasinan. Certificate of recognition. This is presented to Dr. Aris S. Barago in recognition for his expertise and dedication as resource speaker during the webinar series on EDM312 Financing Educational System, sponsored by the student of the Doctor of Education, major in Educational Management, Open University Systems, Pangasinan State University, awarded this 12th day of June 2022, held via Zoom virtual conferencing. Signed by Dr. Renato E. Salcedo, EDM312 Professor, PSU-OUS, Dr. Erna M. Salazar, Deputy Director for Academics Research and Extension, PSU-OUS, and Dr. Philip G. Carada, Executive Director, PSU Open University System. Sir, we surely gain knowledge and understanding of the topic. Once again, thank you very much.
Thank you so much po. Deeply appreciated. Thank you so much. God bless and keep safe, everyone.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Aris, for your sharing your experience as well as your expertise that will help us to ameliorate our knowledge about the school-based management, as well as your sharing your best practices that will be helpful to us as a future administrators and school leaders. Okay, before we're going to proceed to our second speaker, we're going to have our intermission number that will be given by Pirada Chaisung, an English program faculty of education from Thailand.
Hello everyone, my name is Priyada Shade, so you can call me Mai. Today I'm gonna sing Reflection and hope you guys enjoy. Look at me, I will never pass for a perfect bride. Oh, perfect order, can it be? I'm not mean to play this part. Now I see that if I were truly to be myself, I would break my family's heart. Who is that girl I see staring straight back at me? Why is my reflection someone I don't know? Somehow I cannot hide who I am, though I try. Well, will my reflection show who I am inside? How I pray that a time will come I can feel myself and may stay patient on that day. I discover some way to be myself and to make my families proud. There were those line, no one knows who I am. Must they be a secret me I'm for to hide? Must I pretend that I'm someone else for all time? Well, will my reflection show who I am inside? Well, will my reflection show who I am inside? Thank you.
Kapunakap, Ajan Piradakap. It was a very nice intermission number. And now may I call in again Miss Charlotte Amelie Ayuson, one of the professors of Rajabat University in Buriram, to introduce our second speaker.
Am I audible, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, thank you. So once again, it's a pleasure and honor to introduce to you guys our second resource speaker for today. Mr. Georgie D. Rubidelio, 20 years of age, is from Lucena City, Quezon Province. He is a graduate of Bachelor of Science in Business Administration, major in Financial Administration at Manuel Enverga University Foundation. He obtained his Master's of Public Administration at Polytechnic University of the Philippines, and currently he is pursuing his Juris Doctor degree in the third year at San Pablo College of Law. He's been with the DepEd in a division of Quezon for 8 years. Designation of Administrative Officer 2 of Talipan National High School for 5 years, and at the same time, the Disbursing Officer 2 of Unisan National High School, Quezon Province. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Mr. Georgie D. Rubidelio.
Thank you. To Dr. Renato Salcedo, the EDM312 professor, to Mr. Frederick Obnyala, and to the rest of the EDM312 students of Pangasinan State University. Good morning. So for my topic today, Let me share my screen first. Can you see my screen? Or am I audible? Hello?
Yes, sir, you are
Yes
po.
po.
Yes po.
Thank you for the confirmation. So as for my topic, it is the Government Procurement Act. So the objectives of this session, first is to provide an overview of the Government Procurement Reform Act, or the Republic Act number 9184, and its revised implementing rules and regulation. Basically, its scope and principle, as well as its historical background. So it is for us to understand and appreciate more the purpose of the procurement law, particularly in fulfilling the agency's mandate in line with the principles of good governance, of course. So basically, this is a broad topic. It covers 8 modules in procurement training. However, with the limited allotted time, we will, as much as possible, we will try to cover the 8 modules that is offered. First is we go to the history of procurement laws. Second, the coverage and scope and application. The principles of public procurement. Then the procurement organizations. The roles and responsibilities of the players in procurement. The grant of honoraria, the professionalization program, and the procurement method. And as I was told, a majority of the participants today are connected with Department of Education like I was. So I will try to integrate the topic with the school-based procurement. So wherein we will try to tackle or cover the school-based procurement method, the school-based procurement process, and the terms and instruction with regards to these processes. So let's start by learning what is the importance of knowing the Government Reform Act. So to start, a good procurement system is vital to the effective public expenditure management, to the delivery of services to citizens on time at the most reasonable cost and with the best quality. So as per Section 2 of the Presidential Decree number 1445, otherwise known as the State Auditing Code of the Philippines, it states that all resources of the government shall be managed, expended, or utilized in accordance with law, rules and regulations, and safeguard against loss or wastage through illegal or improper disposition, with the view of ensuring the economy, the efficiency, and effectiveness in the operation of the government. So the responsibility to take care of such policy rests directly with the chief or the head of the government agency concerned. In this school setting, it is basically the school heads. So hence, every officer of the government whose duties are in connection or pertains to the spending of public funds or in procurement per se, they should adhere to the declared policy of the state. That is why this webinar series is very relevant, not just with this specific topic in the GPRA or the government procurement program, but the whole training on financing educational system. For this will definitely help for the empowerment of the school heads and leaders to manage the school financial or fiscal resources. So let us now go with the background. So several studies in the past referred to Philippines public procurement system as a spawning ground for official corruption, and realizing the severity of the situation, a reform process was initiated, which resulted in the enactment of the Republic Act number 9184, otherwise known as the Government Procurement Reform Act. So basically, the GPRA was envisioned to address the lack of transparency and competition. It is to eliminate collusion and political interference, as well as lessen the delays in the procurement process. So the procurement process prior to the enactment of the GPRA lacked transparency and competition, since bid announcements were confined only to print media, or it is announced through newspapers, tabloid, or and the likes. So such practice opened the process to manipulations by officials to favor certain suppliers and contractors. There are anecdotes of contractors who hoard the copies of newspaper just to prevent the circulation of the bidding invitation for local projects. Thereby, they limit the competition to few favored ones. So to level the playing field and to make it or to make the bid invitation known all over the country, in addition to print media with the additional national circulation, bidding announcements are now posted on the website of the procuring entity, as well as the Philippine Government Electronic System or PhilJEPS. So with the enactment of the GPRA is the standardization of the procurement process and form. So prior to GPRA, there was no general procurement law. In place were 117 laws, including executive orders, presidential decrees, and administrative orders, which were employed in order to fill in for the lack of general procurement law. This array of laws often resulted in confounding and conflicting interpretations of the provisions that increase the possibilities of delays and irregularities in the bidding and procurement process. So, in a nutshell, this is GPRA in a nutshell. So, here are the problems, and with the enactment of the GPRA, these are the reforms. First is the confusion due to fragmented legal system. So, for the reform, the government enacted the GPRA. So for the inconsistencies of policies, rules, and regulations due to lack of standards, the government created the Government Policy Procurement Board. They are the ones responsible in giving the instructions, the resolutions, and the likes for the standardization of the rules and regulations, which pertains to the procurement. For the lack of transparency, as mentioned earlier, the use of Philippine Electronic Procurement System or PhilJEPS, rather than prior to the enactment of the law, it is confined with the print media. Last is the lack of check and balance. With today's procurement process or practice, the reform comes with the participation of civil society. So general public can access with the PhilJEPS or can see the invitations or the announcement. So the Government Procurement Reform Act of 2003, officially designated as the Republic Act number 9184, is a Philippine law that prescribes the necessary rules to address the lack of transparency and competition in government procurement. So in sum, it makes the procurement process much simpler and faster. So the major difference is in the assessment of suppliers. Both the old and the new schemes evaluate the contents of the bids of all bidders. However, now that the GPRA is in place, the evaluation process is made simpler and more transparent. So we now go to the governing principles on government procurement. We laid down 5 principles. First is the transparency, the competitiveness, streamlined procurement process, the system of accountability, the public monitoring. First is transparency. Transparency in the procurement process and the implementation of procurement contracts through wide dissemination of bid opportunities and participation of pertinent non-government organizations. In terms of competitiveness, by extending equal opportunity to enable private contracting parties who are eligible and qualified to participate in competitive bidding. Next is the streamlined procurement process that will uniformly apply to all government procurement. The procurement process shall be simple and made adaptable to advances in modern technology in order to ensure an effective and efficient method. The system of accountability where both public officials directly or indirectly involved in the procurement process as well as in the implementation of procurement contracts and the private parties that deal with the government are warranted by circumstances, investigated, and held liable or accountable for their actions relative thereto. Last is a mode of public monitoring. Public monitoring of the procurement process and the implementation of awarded contracts with the end view of guaranteeing that these contracts are awarded pursuant to the provisions of the GPRA and its IRR, and that this contract are performed strictly according to specifications. So the RA 9184 provided for its IRR provided for its scope and coverage. So we now go to the scope and application of the IRR of 9184. So the implementing rules and regulations of 9184 shall apply to all procurement of any branch, agency, department, bureau, office, or instrumentality of the government, including the government-owned and controlled corporations, the government financial institutions, state universities and colleges, just like the Pangasinan State University, and the local government units or LGUs. It shall apply to all procurement activities involving goods and services, the infrastructure projects, and consulting services. However, because of the varying interpretation on what are covered by RA 9184 as procurement, the 2016 revision enumerated the activities that are not considered as procurement undertakings under the revised RA 9184. So the following are provided, which are not considered as procurement undertakings. The direct financial or material assistance, the participation in local or foreign scholarships, training, continuing education, conference, seminars, or similar activities that shall be governed by the applicable COA, CSC, or DBM rules. Next is the lease of government-owned property as lessor for private use, the hiring of job workers or job order workers, joint venture, and the disposal of property and other assets of the government. So as long as the lease out undertakings do not involve expenditure of public funds for the procurement of goods, works, and consulting services, 9184 and its IRR and its associated rules will not apply. So the aforementioned enumerated list are governed by other pertinent laws. We now go to procurement planning, which is very vital and important to understand. So first, let us analyze the two words, procurement and planning. So procurement, as we all know, it is the process of selecting products or services from a supplier who fits best the need. Basically, it includes the process of selecting products and services that will provide value for money. And next is planning. So planning is a fundamental management function which involves deciding beforehand what is to be done, when it is to be done, and how is it to be done, and who is going to do it. It is an intellectual process which lays down an organization's objectives and it chalks out exactly how to attain a specific goal. So what is procurement planning? So procurement planning, it is the process of identifying which project needs can be best met by procuring products and services outside the project organization and should be accomplished through the project planning effort. So procurement planning basically precludes occasions for unnecessary government purchases and circumvention of the prescribed procurement procedures. For example, the advanced delivery, the Suki system, and the unwarranted resort to alternative procurement methods. So, as you can see, this is the Philippine procurement paradigm. The quadrant one refers to the identification, and in that there are cost benefit analysis, there is feasibility study, market study, and the preparation of the PPMP. Once the project is identified or the need is identified, hence the succeeding activity should follow. Second is after the identification is the assessment, then procurement, and then the implementation, which we will further discuss later on. So, as what Jose Tomas Sisiquia said, most of the agencies in the Philippines follow a linear path in procurement. For them, procurement stops after the awarding of contract to winning bidder. But that shouldn't be the case. The procurement process should be treated as a cycle, and thus the need to extend into contract completion and payment. This is where the contract management comes in. So, let's go back to this. It is a cycle. So, after the implementation, magkakaroon ulit ng needs that should be identified, then the cycle goes on and on. We now go to the delays on and failures of bidding. So, study shows that 50% of failure of bidding is attributed to poor planning. So in the process of procurement planning, the quadrant one in procurement as shown earlier, the following are the basic things that needed to be considered. So what to buy, how many do you need, what are the details, what is the cost, when do you need it, and how to source it. Basically, quadrant one, there. Basically, quadrant one is the procurement paradigm is very crucial phase or stage. The identification stage, it sets the direction of the whole procurement process. So what is the importance of procurement planning? So procurement planning ensures that the overall goal of a particular project will be effectively and efficiently achieved. We now go to the objectives of procurement planning. So we have 4 objectives. First is to schedule in advance. Second is to ensure that the overall goal is achieved effectively and efficiently. Third is to preclude unnecessary purchases and circumvention. And lastly, the ultimate goal, the value for money. Let's now go to the first objective, the scheduling in advance. Scheduling in advance, if you schedule in advance, you will be able to see everything clearly. What you will need, when will you need it, and how you can you source it, as what was mentioned earlier. So planning ahead will give you an overview of the whole process. Second is to ensure that the overall goal is achieved effectively and efficiently. Some says that the Philippine procurement paradigm was not always followed. There. Was not always followed or achieved. Some stop at the third quadrant in awarding of contracts. Others fail to come across on the fourth quadrant, which is the implementation stage. The procurement process does not only end until a contract is awarded. One needs to oversee that the award of contract is properly implemented. So the checking of the finished project or the awarded project, or the inspection and acceptance of the deliverables is also vital to ensure that the overall goal of the organization is achieved. It is on the fourth quadrant that you can determine if the supplier faithfully executed or complied properly with their obligations. Thereby, by means of inspection or checking, you can also assess the performance of the suppliers. So it precludes unnecessary purchases or circumvention. So if you logically and strategically lay down and plan your procurement ahead of time as planned, you can prevent unnecessary purchases. And unnecessary not in its literal sense, but unnecessary in a way that it was not properly programmed or scheduled. Although there are many purchases that instantly occur and with urgency, such can be minimized if you plan ahead. Take note of these two words: forecasting and contingency. Forecasting means that one should be able to identify the necessary thing that can come up later on. It doesn't necessarily mean that one should just guess. We can rely on historical data, the antecedents, or the what was happening in our society. And lastly is the ultimate goal, which is value for money. After all, sa tao galing yung pera na ginagastos or ginagamit natin. As provided for in Section 1, Article 11 of the 1987 Constitution, public office is a public trust. Public officials and employees must at all times be accountable to people, serve them with utmost honesty, responsibility, integrity, loyalty, and efficiently act with patriotism and lead a modest life. So the ultimate goal is to provide value for the money that we spend, which is the money of the government. So these are the challenges in procurement planning. So the lack of proper market study and cost-benefit analysis, the proposed project set in the project procurement management plan is not planned nor thought of after the budget is enacted, and the lack or limited training or experience in crafting the terms of reference or TORs and or technical specifications. So this oftentimes results to failed bidding, which translate to delay in procurement. Thereby, it ends up in an ineffective procurement process that can also become a habit or practice. It is not about what is convenient. We have rules to abide and follow. So we now go to the procurement planning and budgeting linkage. As provided for in the IRR, all procurement shall be within the approved budget of the procuring entity and should be meticulously and judiciously planned by the procuring entity. Consistent with the government fiscal discipline measures, only those considered crucial to the efficient discharge of the government functions shall be included in the annual procurement plan. So when is a project considered crucial to the efficient discharge of a governmental functions? So for the purposes of the IRR, a procurement project shall be considered crucial to the efficient discharge of governmental function if it is required for the day-to-day operations, or it is in pursuit of the principal mandate of the procuring entity concerned. So for example, in the academy or in the Department of Education per se, the principal mandate of our agency is to provide and promote, is to protect and promote the rights of all citizens to quality, equitable, culture-based, and complete basic education. Hence, our procurement must be in line with that. And given that it is in accordance to that, it must be reflected in the annual implementation plan or the APP. So the APP shall include provisions for foreseeable emergencies based on historical records as stated earlier. And as what I have mentioned also, the forecasting. In case of the infrastructure projects, the APP shall consider the appropriate timing or phasing of related project activities such as engineering, the design and acquisition of right-of-way, site or location, and to reduce or lower the project cost. So to give you a glimpse of the procurement planning timeline. So for example, January of the current year, March of the current year, the activities are laid down as follows. So the January of the current year, so this is planning for the succeeding year, or for example, January of 2022 is the planning stage for January of or for the year of 2023 or the next year. So January pa lang, the cost benefit analysis and feasibility study of the market. By March or the end of first quarter is the project procurement management plan, which should be consolidated into the indicative APP. And once consolidated by April, the approval and the budget proposal. By mid-year, the revision of PPMP and indicative APP based on the NEF. And on the next year or next fiscal year, the revision of PPMP and indicative APP based on GAA or GAA. There are instances that the GAA be smaller or the value becomes smaller, or the budget, or there is an reenactment of budget. Hence, the planned procurement should adjust with the given GAA. Next is the overview of the procurement planning and budgeting linkage process. So the procuring entity prepares the proposed budget for the succeeding year or succeeding current calendar year. The procuring entity considers budget framework to reflect project priorities and objectives. So the procuring entity is in best position to determine the correct classification of its procurement based on its identified needs and the best way by which these needs may be addressed, managed, and satisfied. Basically, it is the motivation or intention of the procuring entity in pursuing the project that will determine the primary purpose of the project. We now go to the end user. So end user shall make market research or feasibility to come up with the technical specifications, the estimated budget, and the terms of reference to be attached to the PPMP for various PAPs. PPMP shall be submitted to the budget office. So the end user, it is the end user who shall know what they need and where they can get it. How will they be able to get that? It is by means of conducting market study. The end user must know the market. Market study is the process of gathering and analyzing information about the capabilities within the market to satisfy the agency's need. Next is the budget office. So budget office shall evaluate end users submitted PPMP if warranted shall include in the procuring entity's budget proposal for the approval of the head of procuring entity. After the budget proposal is approved by the head of procuring entity, the budget office shall furnish the procuring entity's budget proposal and PPMPs to the back secretariat for review and consolidation into a proposed APP. So back and secretariat. So soon as the GAA is final, the end user shall revise and adjust the PPMPs to reflect the budgetary allocation for their PAPs. The revised PPMP shall be submitted to the back again through the Secretariat for the finalization of the modes of procurement in the proposed APP. So now that we have a glimpse of the process, let us delve a little more detailed. Let us start with what is PPMP, or the Project Procurement Management Plan. So PPMP is a guide document in the procurement and contract implementation process, as well as a vital reference in the procurement monitoring. Each end user unit shall prepare the PPMP during the budget preparation to support the cost estimates in the budget proposal. So as mentioned earlier, one of the challenges faced by the procuring entity is that the proposed project set in the PPMP is not planned nor thought of after the budget is enacted. So what should be done? So in preparing the PPMP, they should set the clear specification. It should be generic and flexible, clear and unambiguous. The reminder on reference to brand names. Government entities like us are prohibited in indicating the brand names to our purchase requests. However, if there are instances where it is allowed, for example, kung yun lang talaga yung brand na available sa market, or kung yun talaga yung kailangan ng procuring entity based on their existing equipment or materials. So we now go to the procurement planning timeline. So the end user shall prepare the PPMP. They shall submit to the budget office for evaluation. Then si budget office ipupunta kay back-end secretariat for consolidation, and they will translate it to the indicative APP and papunta kay Hope, or the head of procuring entity, for approval. So upon issuance of the budget call or similar document, the procuring entity shall prepare its indicative APP for the succeeding calendar year to support for the proposed budget, taking into consideration the budget framework for that year in order to reflect its priorities and objectives. As mentioned earlier, there are four stages in the procurement, in the government procurement: the identification, the evaluation, the consolidation, and the approval. So once the PPMP is finalized, if the budget is different from those in the GAA, the end user shall adjust their PPMPs. So we now go to the procurement organizations, or the players of the procurement process. First is the head of procuring entity or HOPE. Second, the Bids and Awards Committee, the BAC Secretariat, the Technical Working Group, and the observers. The head of procuring entity. It refers to the agency's body or his duly authorized official for NGAs and the constitutional commissions or officers and other branches of government. The governing board or its duly authorized official for GOCCs and SUCs, GFIs, and the local chief executive for LGUs. So in an agency, department, or office where the procurement is decentralized, the head of each decentralized unit shall be considered as the head of procuring entity, subject to the limitations and authority delegated by the head of the agency, department, or office. So what are his or her function? First is to establish back and appoint its member. It is the duty of the head of the procuring entity to ensure that the back members give their utmost priority to duties. It is also his duty to ensure the professionalization of members of the procurement organization. So the HOPE shall ensure that the BAC and its secretariat and the TWG members, including other relevant procurement officer, are sent to attend procurement training or capacity development program. Within 6 months upon designation, the BAC, its secretariat, and TWG members should have satisfactorily completed such training or programs conducted by the authorized or accredited by the GPP through its technical support office. Next is to approve annual procurement plan, to approve or disapprove the contract award, and to resolve protests. Next player is the Bids and Awards Committee or the BAC. So as a general rule, the head of procuring entity must create a single BAC. However, separate BACs may be created under any of the following conditions. First is if the items to be procured are complex or specialized. If the single BAC cannot reasonably manage the procurement transactions as shown by the delays beyond allowable limits. Or lastly, if the creation is required according to the nature of procurement. So what are their functions and responsibilities? So first is they recommend the procurement methods, they create the TWG, they conduct bidding activities, they resolve requests for reconsideration, they recommend the imposition of sanctions, they invite observers during all stages of procurement process, they conduct due diligence review or verifications of the qualifications of observers, and they prepare procurement monitoring reports. So for the membership and qualification, the BAC members should occupy plantilla positions with the procuring entity concerned. And all members are regular members except the end user member who is considered as provisional members. So for the composition, the head of procuring entity shall designate at least 5 but not more than 7 members to the BAC of unquestionable integrity and procurement proficiency. For the regular members, as per the composition, the chairperson who is at least a third-ranking permanent official. Second, an officer who is at least a fifth-ranking permanent official, or if not available, representative from the legal or administrative department. And an officer who is at least also a fifth-ranking permanent official from the finance area. For the provisional members, an officer who has technical expertise relevant to the procurement at hand and to the extent possible has knowledge, experience, and or expertise in procurement. Next is a representative from the end user or implementing unit who has knowledge of procurement law and procedures. Who are the prohibited members of the BAC? The following are provided. First is the head of procuring entity because he is the one who appoints. Second is officials who approves procurement contracts. The chief accountant or head of accounting office and his or her staff. However, there is an exemption provided. So for the accounting department, unless they are the end user, in which case the chief accountant, the head of accounting or department or his or her staff may be designated as an end user member. So the prohibited members, they pertain to those who has the authority to grant the contracts or projects. So basically, the prohibition aims to eradicate the bias and unfair selection of suppliers. For the terms of membership, the back member shall be designated for a term of 1 year reckoned from the date of designation. And upon expiration of the terms of the current members, they shall continue to exercise their function until new members are designated. So for justifiable causes, a member shall be suspended or removed by the Hope. So the head of procuring entity may renew or terminate such designation as at his discretion. So it is inherent that the authority of the head of procuring entity to designate also comes his power or authority to terminate his appointments. So basically, it dwell on the trust and confidence of the head of the procuring entity, whether to renew or terminate a back member. So in case of resignation, separation, transfer, reassignment, or removal of the back members, the Hope shall designate a replacement um, that has similar specifications as the official replace. However, the replacement, as stated, shall serve only for the unexpired term. Or in case of the leave or suspension, the replacement shall serve only for the duration of the leave or suspension. Next player is the back secretariat. So the Hope shall create a secretariat which will serve as the main support unit of the back. An existing organic office with the procuring entity may also designate to serve as secretariat. For their composition, there is no minimum or maximum maximum number of members of the back secretariat. So the head of the back secretariat must be at least a fifth or third ranking permanent employee, or if not available, a permanent official of the next lower rank. So for their function, they provide administrative support to the back and the TWG. They organize and make all necessary arrangements for the back and the TWG meetings and conferences. They prepare the minutes of the meetings and resolutions of the back. They take custody of the procurement documents and other records and ensure that all procurements undertaken by the procuring entity are properly documented. They manage the sale and distribution of bidding documents to interested bidders, and they advertise and post bidding opportunities, including bid documents and the notices of awards. Next, other function is to assist in managing the procurement processes, to monitor procurement activities and milestones for proper reporting to relevant agencies when required, and to consolidate PPMPs from various units of procuring entity to make them available for review and approval of the head of procuring entity. And they act as a central channel of communication for the back. Next player is the technical working group. So the technical working group is created by the back from the pool of legal, technical, and financial experts. So those experts outside the procuring entity concerned may be included. For example, the government and personnel and officials and consultants from the private sectors and academe with proven expertise on sourcing of goods, works, and consulting services. So back may create separate TWGs to handle different procurements. For their functions, they assist the back in the following activities. For the eligibility screening, the bid evaluation, the post-qualification, the review of technical specifications, scope of work, in terms of reference, they review bidding documents, the shortlisting of consultants, and the resolution for request for reconsideration. And for our last player of in the procuring process, the observers. So to enhance the transparency of the processes, the back shall, during the eligibility checking, the shortlisting, the pre-bid conference, the preliminary examinations of bids, the bid evaluation, and post-qualification, invite, in addition to the representative from COA, at least two observers who shall not have the right to vote to sit in its proceedings. So the composition, representative from COA, at least one from the private group, and at least one also from the NGO. So the observers shall be allowed to access to or to be provided with the documents free of charge upon their request, such as the minutes of the back meeting, the abstract of bids, the post-qualification summary report, the APP and related PPMP, and the open proposals. So in all instances, the observers shall be required to enter into confidentiality agreement with the concerned procuring entity in accordance with the form prescribed, of course, by the GPPB. So in all instances, they are required to enter into a confidentiality agreement. So for their responsibilities, they prepare the report either jointly or separately, indicating their observations made on the procurement activities conducted by the BAC for submission to the head of procuring entity. They copy furnish the BAC chairperson. They submit their report to the procuring entity and furnish a copy to the GPPB and Office of the Ombudsman or Resident Ombudsman, and to immediately inhibit and notify in writing the procuring entity concerned of any actual or potential interest in the contract to the bid. So basically, they act as the check and balance in the process of procurement. So the next topic is the exciting part. This is the grant of honoraria. So the procuring entity may grant payment of honoraria to the BAC members in an amount not to exceed 25% of their respective basic salary, subject to the availability of funds. So the BAC Secretariat performing attendant functions in addition to their regular duties and functions may be paid honoraria at the same rate as the TWG chair and members. Those who are receiving honoraria shall no longer to be entitled to overtime pay for the procurement-related services rendered, and the payment of overtime services may be allowed for the administrative staff for procurement activities rendered in excess of their official working hours. So where to get the funding for the honoraria? So it is from the collections from successfully completed procurement projects limited to activities prior to the awarding of contracts to winning bidders. These are from proceeds from the sale of bidding documents, the fees from contractor or supply registry, the fees charged for copies of minutes of the bid openings, the back resolution and other back documents, the protest fees, the proceeds from bid security forfeiture. So basically, lahat ng dokumento ng issue ng procuring entity may bayad sa mga supplier. So the ceiling amount for the grant of honoraria. For the BAC chair, 3,000, the BAC members, 2,500, the BAC secretariat, Chair and members 2,000. So just for reiteration, members of the back secretariat whose positions are in the procurement unit of the agency shall not be entitled to honoraria, although the payment of overtime services may be allowed subject to the existing policy on the matter. If you are part of the procurement unit or department, obviously the procurement process is part of your job or duty. You are employed specifically for that undertaking, hence the grant of honoraria is not proper. However, the grant of the overtime pay in excess of the official working hours rendered for the purpose, specifically for the procurement purpose, may be granted with overtime pay. We now go to the modes of procurement. So the general rule, all for procurement shall be done through competitive bidding. Exception, resort to alternative methods. So competitive bidding refers to the method of procurement which is open to participation by any interested party and which consists of the following processes: the advertisement, the pre-bid conference, the eligibility screening of prospective bidders, the receipt and opening of bids, the evaluation of bids, and the post-qualification and award of contract. So the exception is to resort to alternative methods of procurement only for these circumstances, only in highly exceptional cases, to promote economy and efficiency, and justified by the conditions specified by the RA 9182. So we now go to alternative methods of procurement. The limited source bidding, the direct contracting, the repeat order, the shopping, and the negotiated procurement. We go first with the direct contracting or single source procurement. So basically, it is a method of procurement of goods that does not require elaborate bidding documents. The supplier is simply asked to submit a price quotation or a pro forma invoice together with the conditions of sale. The offer may be accepted immediately or after some negotiations. So direct contracting may be resorted to under any of the following conditions. First is by procurement of goods of proprietary nature, which can be obtained only from the proprietary source. Second is when the procurement of critical component from a specific supplier is a condition precedent to hold the contractor to guarantee its project performance. Third is those sold by an exclusive dealer or manufacturer which does not have sub-dealers selling at lower prices. Next is the repeat order. So repeat order is a method of procurement of goods from the previous winning bidder whenever there is need to replenish good. Next is shopping. Shopping is a method of procurement of goods whereby the procuring entity simply requests for the submission of price quotations for readily available off-the-shelf goods or already ordinary regular equipment to be procured directly from the suppliers of known qualifications. And the next is the negotiated procurement. It is a method of procurement of goods, infrastructure, and consulting services whereby the procuring entity directly negotiates a contract with a technically, legally, and financially capable suppliers, contractors, or consultants. Usually this happens after 2 failed biddings or emergency cases. You can see the last two alternative methods of procurement are the 2 methods available on school-based procurement. So here are the chart. So the methods of procurement is available on goods, infra, or sa contracting of service. So as I mentioned earlier, the shopping and the negotiated procurement is the 2 alternative methods that is practiced or done in the school level. I specifically intended not to go deeper into the the provisions of the RA 9184, as most of these do not apply in the school level. As I was informed, a majority of the participants are connected with the Department of Education, particularly school-based. So hence, we will now go to the school-based procurement. So school-based procurement, in this part of our session, we will discuss the applicable modes of procurement, the overview of the school-based procurement process, and the terms and conditions. So in the school setting, the financial management of school heads prevail when they have basic knowledge and clear understanding of the basic processes involved in managing schools account, the budgeting process, and the system of controls that are necessary to ensure that the school finances are not misappropriated. So the overall policy in regards with the empowerment of the school head to manage the school's personnel or fiscal and material resources are stipulated in the Republic Act 9155, as mentioned earlier also. So the said law, known as the Governance of Basic Education Act of 2001, emphasizes that the school heads are given authority, the accountability, and most specific, especially the responsibility over fiscal and financial resources. So we now go to the school-based procurement method. First is the shopping for readily available goods, and the negotiated procurement or small value procurement for all times within the threshold. So if the amount does not exceed the allowed threshold, otherwise the public bidding shall be used. The method of procurement to be used must be indicated, of course, in the PPAP. So here is the overview of the school-based procurement process. So the end user submits pertinent documents to School Bids and Awards Committee, or the SBAC. The SBAC, through the SBAC Secretariat, prepares the request for quotation. The SBAC Secretariat falls for information purposes the procurement opportunity for a period of 3 calendar days. They sent the request for quotation to at least 3 prospective suppliers of known qualifications. They prepares abstract of quotations after they gathered the quotation submitted by the supplier. However, if no quotation was received, they can extend the deadline for submission of the request for quotation. Next, they evaluate the quotation submitted. They post-qualify the bidder with the lowest calculated quotation, and they award the lowest calculated responsive quotation and prepare the purchase order. Saka pa lang magpe-prepare ng PO kapag post-qualify na ng mga submitted quotation from different suppliers. In the school setting, medyo hindi siya nasusunod, honestly. However, there are certain district from Zambales which I followed sa Facebook, Santa Cruz district of Zambales. If you can try to find it in Facebook, you can see their practice in terms of e-procurement. All their RFQs, all their notice to proceed, all their awards of contract, they post it there as their e-procurement portal. Meron silang Facebook page na nandun lahat, and maganda siyang gawing benchmark for school practices for the school-based procurement process. Actually, sila lang yung nakitaan ko ng ganong practice, sila yung ganun ka-transparent na district, Santa Cruz District of Zambales. You can check them in Facebook. Makikita nyo yung kanilang mga proseso. So last is the school head, they approve the award to the lowest calculated quotation. So once approved, saka pa lang magsa-start yung contract implementation. So in reality, the practice in school, mauunang bumili bago gumawa ng mga supporting documents, which should not be the case kapag susundin natin itong prosesong ito, right? So, ang una pala dapat is to request for quotation, hindi canvas. However, canvas is allowed for small value goods. Kapag mas mataas na sa 50,000 threshold, bidding na siya, which should be posted in PhilJeps. So, for the submission requirement, so after the request for the quotation, the submitted quotation of the supplier shall be sealed and open quotation and other requirements shall be submitted to the SBAC, and the supplier shall submit the following: the duly signed request for quotation, tapos the prices shall be indicated or quoted in Philippine peso. So for verification prior to the award, the School Bids and Awards Committee shall ask for the valid and current mayor's permit or municipal license of the supplier, the PhilJeps registration, and the tax identification number of the suppliers. However, with the recent resolution given by the GPPBTSO, if the supplier already presented the PhilJeps registration, enough na yon. Hindi na daw kailangan humingi pa ng kung ano-anong permits. Kasi the aforementioned permits, the TIN, the TTI, they are already submitted before the PhilJeps. Hence, once they are accredited or registered in the PhilJeps, the registration certificate shall suffice. So in terms of after the awarding of contract, next is the delivery. So upon delivery of the goods to the project site, which in our case, this school, the supplier shall notify the SBAC and present the following documents: yung supplier's invoice, the statement of accounts, the delivery receipt, and the approved purchase order. Supplier shall be responsible for the sources of its goods and shall make the deliveries in accordance with the schedule and specifications of the award of purchase order. So failure on the part of the supplier to comply with this provision shall be a ground for the cancellation of awards or purchase order issued to the supplier. There is one time in our school, the delivered items is not in compliance with our technical specifications. Hence, hindi na kami dun ulit kumuha sa supplier na yon. So, supplier who accepted a purchase order but failed to deliver the required goods within the time called for in the purchase order shall also be disqualified in participating in DepEd or any DepEd unit's future procurement activities. So, this is without prejudice to the imposition of other sanctions prescribed under the 9184 and against the supplier. So all deliveries by the suppliers shall be subject to inspection and acceptance by the DepEd school inspection team and the end user. So basically, there is a conception na those who are working in the finance department, particularly the disbursing officer or the bookkeepers, they are the ones responsible in buying or in the procurement. However, that is not the case. Their only job is to pay the supplier, and the whole procurement process should be handled by the school Bids and Awards Committee and the Secretariat. The only time na papasok lang ang school head or principal is kapag tapos na yung process of selection. Sa approval na lang papasok si si principal, dapat hands off si principal in terms of the selection and awarding of the project to certain supplier. Tapos the finance department, wala rin sila dapat hawak na, or hindi dapat sila involved in any phase of the procurement other than the payment of the suppliers, because that is what the law provides. However, in the actual practice, medyo hindi siya nasusunod. That's why this topic is very relevant for our fellow educators and school leaders. And that ends my my report or presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Sir Georgie. For sure, this knowledge that you just imparted to us today will be inculcated in our whole career life, such as the principles on the government procurement should be practiced, and anticipating problems that are related to the procurement itself. And we must consider the reforms that was stated a while ago. And we must learn also to identify the needs, assess, procure, and implement, and aim for satisfaction or the value of money. So thank you again, Sir Georgie. So now let us move on to the awarding of the certificate to our speaker. May I call in again, Ms. Normalisa Valenzuela, one of the EDD students.
Thank you, Sir Woodward. Hats off to our second distinguished resource speaker. Sir, we are very grateful for the wonderful presentation and for sharing your expertise on Government Procurement Reform Act. With that, allow me to read the Certificate of Recognition. Republic of the Philippines, Pangasinan State University, Open University Systems, Lingayen, Pangasinan. Certificate of Recognition. This is presented to Mr. Georgie D. Robedillo, a Master of Public Administration, in recognition for his expertise and dedication as resource speaker during the webinar series on EDM312 Financing Educational System, sponsored by the students of the Doctor of Education major in Educational Management. Open University Systems, Pangasinan State University. Awarded this 12th day of June 2022, held via Zoom virtual conferencing. Signed by Dr. Renato E. Salcedo, EDM312 Professor, PSU OUS, Dr. Erna M. Salazar, Deputy Director for Academics Research and Extension, PSU OUS, and Dr. Philip G. Quirada, Executive Director, PSU OUS. Sir, undoubtedly, we are made aware of the matter at hand. Once more, thanks a lot and God bless.
Okay, so thank you so much, Marna Melissa, and thank you so much, Sir Georgie, for sharing your comprehensively details and your expertise in terms of the procurement process. So, for the Q&A and for today's webinar, may I call in Ms. Melissa Cuevas, the PSU EDD students, for the question and answer forum. Ma'am?
We would also like to inform everyone that the evaluation form is already out so that you could grab your e-certificate later on.
Okay, Ma'am Maria. Oh.
Ma'am Maria?
Ma'am Maria, the floor is yours.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Sir, audible. Check ko lang po sir kung audible po.
Ngayon po, okay na po.
Ayan, thank you po. So first I'd like to apologize muna kasi hindi po ako makapag-open ng cam. So nalobat na po yung cellphone ko na naka-laptop po ako pero unfortunately wala po siyang cam. Ayan. So ayan po. Again, thank you sir for introducing me, and then again I'd like to greet our supportive and brilliant professor, Dr. Renato Salcedo, our distinguished resource speakers, Of course, we have Dr. Aris Barago and Dr. Georgie Robidillo, and to all the hardworking class of the EDD program. So good morning po. Again, I am Maria Brittany Alarcon, EDD program student, and I will be serving as your moderator for this open forum. Ayan, so we're about to reach the conclusion of this webinar series. Ayan po. So allow me to mention a few important things for the forum. Due to the limited time po, we would only accept 3 questions for every speaker. Ayan, and to raise a question, simply type it here in our chat box and I'll be reading it before our speaker. Ayan po. So unahin na po natin yung concerns or questions natin for the discussion from Dr. Barago. Ayan, on school-based management and resources. Ayan po. So the floor is now open for your queries. Paki-chat na lang po siguro.
Hello, ma'am. Hello, ma'am Brittany. Good morning po. So, if there's a question, ma'am, I think we can proceed to the question that is being asked by Sir Woody po. Thank you po.
Okay. Sige po.
Oh, hello. So are there questions already? Okay, Ma'am Maria.
Okay po. So the first question is from Sir Maniago. Okay, so in my school or in their school daw po, one of the causes of delays in procurement is the low number of bidders. So what interventions can we do to address this issue? Yan. Thank you po, sir.
Morning, I believe the question is addressed to me. So the best thing to do to address that limited or low number of bidders is to create a pool of suppliers. You have to identify the available suppliers within the area and have the relationship with them, not that kind of relationship, but you need to inform them of the future procurement that may be done, that they can participate in. If you have a pool or list of suppliers, although the bidders are limited, you can directly send them RFQs or the request for quotations. So it is at your end that you will initiate the bidding, not literally, but if you have a pool of suppliers, the list of suppliers are readily available, you can directly give them the request for quotation or directly go to them by that list or pool of the suppliers. So that is basically the most um, convenient thing to do, to have a list of suppliers. Sometimes yung mga suppliers ang medyo picky when it comes to project. However, if you are the one who will approach them and ask for the quotation of prices, if the prices given to you is acceptable or within the approved budget, then that problem will be resolved.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Robilio. So the question was all about perfect po siya ng procurement po pala, sa bidder po. Also have here a question from Sir Woodward. Ayan. So in my school, the main project contractor who won the bidding is one of the government teachers of the same school. but it's acceptable based on its ITA or the integrity and transparency assessment tool here in Thailand. How about in the Philippines? In case the teacher is a supplier or has a business related to such, is it okay to be the main contractor? What is the stand of government regarding the matter?
Basically, that is not ideal. However, in some cases, it is permitted, provided that the teacher will not directly engage in the selling of her product or have a direct contract with the school that she is rendering service with. However, in terms of doing business with other schools, it can be permitted, but it is not encouraged. I am not in the best position to answer that as a general rule for the entire um, government. However, based on experience and practice, um, in but for the in terms of fairness and bias, um, it should not be the practice. However, it can be permitted in certain instances, and if the teacher also has connection or relatives within the procuring entity, hence it should not be permitted, or it can be allowed, but the the procuring entity or the back or its members should inhibit from the bidding process of that um, particular supply with that particular supplier. So as a reiteration, I am not in the best position to answer it in the general rule, but um, for the safe answer, to provide a safe answer, it is not ideal. However, it may be permitted in certain instances. Thank you.
So it's really enlightening ano po itong mga napag-uusapan natin. Kasi it's good to know what's really ideal, lalo na po at sa field of work natin. So we also have another question coming from Ma'am Julie Pearl. Ayun po, what if the school head himself is a bidder? Or what the school head is a bidder himself, will that be allowed? Ayan po. Si school head naman po.
Basically, the like like what I had mentioned earlier, if the school head will be within his school, then it should not be permitted. And also, dito papasok yung salitang delikadesa in terms of going to venture or business with the with your school. I what if this yeah, as was mentioned earlier, it may be permitted but not in his station. If the school head has another business that is na meron siya, siguro for the sake of delicadeza, hindi talaga siya ideal, hindi talaga siya dapat nangyayari. However, yun yung nangyayari in reality. But dun pumapasok yung circumvention na tinatawag. Kasi in certain cases nga, it can be, the law is circumvented. It may not be, yun na lang sasabihin, it is not ideal. However, I am not saying that it is not allowed. As a as a school leader or as a educator or the people of the academy, let us be more mindful of our ano na lang. The term delicadeza. You are not prohibited to do business. However, just be a responsible business owner na lang, or know the ins and outs of the law. Also, yeah, and the end term pa rin is delicadeza. Thank you.
Ayan po. Thank you, Doc. We still have regards to establishing school funds. Is it legal to avail school fund through money contest? Ayan, medyo uso po ata ang money contest.
Can I answer now po? Thank you.
Yes po.
I think that the point of reference for money contest is during pageants. Actually, pageants for schools are legal as long as there is an agreement between the schools and the participants, since this will be for local funds. But if you will be saying that if it is legal, then if it is in terms of money contest, I think that's legal once there is an agreement between the participants and all. Kasi ang pinag-uusapan dito, sino yung pinakamataas yung makakalap na pondo, and that is one strategy to at least maximize the fund that is being raised. But when we say we will just solely judge based on the money, so not just for the sake of participating and for other purposes, so siguro hindi naman siya masyadong makatarungan, ano. But for the funds, at least it is one strategy yung who will get the highest funds raised. So it's legal as long as there is an agreement and for the sole purpose of generating funds. Ang tip ko lang po, if you will be doing such activities, be sure na yung pupuntahan ng project ay nakastipulate na. For example, this will be used to purchase something, and that there will be transparency after the program and everything is reported. Thank you.
Yan, so thank you po. Do we still have other questions po? Meron pa po bang dadagdag? Ayan, so parang wala naman na. Okay, so there, we would like to thank our very credible resource speaker for this day. Ayan po, talagang na-enlighten kami doon sa mga rules. Okay, ano ba yung mga pwede namin gawin at saka hindi namin dapat gawin, diba? So also for the students po who also raised questions, kasi we don't know, baka same lang din po yung idea namin or question namin. So ang galing po kasi na-raise po yung ganitong concern, especially this really happens inside other campuses or schools. Ayan po. So I'd like to turn over the floor to our very handsome MCs. Ayan po.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ma'am Maria Brittany. And yes, Paul, I was the one who asked the question a while ago because maybe it's a cultural thing as well. The first time I arrived here in Thailand, the first school that I applied to, I saw two Filipinos na mag-ina. They are working in a particular school, but it's fine. But in the Philippines, I don't think so dahil iniiwasan nila yung mga inside job, di ba? As I've worked in the government before, bawal po yung merong relative na nagtatrabaho sa loob. Tapos in case naman ng sinasabi ko sa bidding, yes po, we were shocked that one of the kindergarten teachers, yes siya po yung main contractor namin ngayon. We're building a 3-story building here at meron pala siyang mga trucks. So no, it's so cool na isang teacher ay mayroong ganong business. So I just don't know. It's allowed here in Thailand. So anyway, we've learned a lot, and now we've come up to the awarding of the certificate of appreciation to the participants. So you may call in my former classmate sa EDD last semester, and she will award and read a citation. Please welcome Miss Venus Eraskin. Ma'am, please turn on the microphone, please.
Sorry. Thank you, sir. A pleasant day to everyone. May I take this opportunity to thank our distinguished resource speakers for today, Sir Robidillo and Sir Barago, and of course, our ever-supportive EDM312 Professor, Dr. Renato E. Salcedo. Also, our active participants for today, So without you guys, sir, ma'am, this webinar won't be possible. May I read to you the text of this certificate? Republic of the Philippines, Pangasinan State University, Open University System, Lingayen, Pangasinan. Certificate of participation is presented to for her active participation during the EDM 312 Financing Educational System Webinar Series 1, sponsored by the students of the Doctor of Education, major in Educational Management, Open University System, Pangasinan State University. Awarded this 12th day of June 2022, held via virtual conferencing, signed Dr. Renato E. Salcedo, EDM 312 Professor, Pangasinan State University Open University System. Dr. Erna M. Salazar, Deputy Director for Academic Research and Extension, PSU Open University System. And Dr. Philip G. Quiroda, Executive Director, PSU Open University System.
Okay, so thank you so much, Ma'am Venus. So for our sharing of insights on today's webinar, may I call in Mr. Frederick Obnyala, PSU EDD student and currently working as a science teacher in Thailand. So, Sir Fred, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, sir. Am I audible po?
Yes po.
So, open ko lang po ang camera ko so you can see me. So, good morning, Thailand. Sawadee Kap, Sawadee Ton Chao Na Kap, Sawadee Kap, and good morning, good afternoon sa Pilipinas. So, I was tasked to give the insight, to share my insight for today's webinar. So, may I greet first our two very active and very high caliber professor for this subject, EDM 3112, Dr. Renato Salceda for the Philippine group, and our very own Dr. Erna M. Salazar, our professor, as she is also the deputy director for the academics and research and extension for the OUS. So, good morning, ma'am, and good afternoon po. And sa ating pong resource speaker, to Dr. Aris Barago and Mr. Joji Rubidillo. Thank you very much, sirs, for enlightening us on the topic about the school-based management and the Government Procurement Act. So for my insight, I would like to have the quotation that is being the quote, or let me quote from Nelson Mandela. Education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. And like what our research speaker said, that we should have the leadership, we should have the accountability, we should have the transparency. So, and also like what Sir Dr. Renato said in the opening remarks, that kahit po gaano kataas ang ating pinag-aralan or kahit anong pong degree ang ating nakuha, if our name will be tarnished, ay baliwala po siya. So for the future school school managers, so nakita po natin based on the experience from our resource speaker, Sir Aris, we should do it by transparency. We should learn by heart, especially the Republic Act 914, like what also Sir Joji told us on the Procurement Act reform. Okay, so yun lang po ang aking sharing of insight for this day, and hindi ko na po siya papahabain. And also, again, a reminders to all of our leaders that leadership is the capacity to transform vision into reality. Thank you very much, and magandang tanghali po and happy Independence Day. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Sir Frederick. And now we've come to the closing remarks. Okay, so our closing remarks will be given to us by our beautiful Deputy Director for Academics, Research and Extension at PSU Open University System, our lovely professor of EDM312 here in Thailand. Please welcome Dr. Erna M. Salazar.
Okay, thank you very much. Am I audible, Sir Woodward?
Yes, Doc.
Okay, so just pardon me with my voice. I'm not really feeling well, but I am here to extend my support to the team. So I would like to extend my congratulations to the financing the educational system classes, both in Thailand and the Philippines, especially to the sponsor for today's webinar, the Thailand class, led by Sir Frederick, our facilitators, Sir Woodward and Sir Ronnie, and all the Thailand team who are very active and well organized. Sorry, I wasn't able to join the dry run. Okay. To Dr. At Salcedo for spearheading this activity together with his Philippine class. I would like to extend my thank you for including us no, in this webinar. To Dr. Philip Queroda for always serving as our inspiration. Okay. To our two resources speakers, Dr. Aris Barogo and Mr. Georgie Robidelia. Indeed, we learn a lot, okay, from school-based management to procurement processes. Indeed, it was really informative and an engaging activity. We look forward to a more exciting webinar next week. Again, my congratulations to the whole team. Thank you for your active participation and God bless.
Thank you very much, Dr. Erna. Yes, Sir Ron, so we've come up to the we finished already our webinar for today. So but before that, sir, please do the honors of promoting our next webinar series too.
Okay, so this is our webinar series 2. So with the team maintenance and other operating expenses. So our speaker will be Dr. Michael Poriza. So please join us on that will be on. It is on June 19.
Okay, so thank you very much, everyone. And this has been your host. My name is Woodward Villalino, and together with me is my very dynamic co-host.
And this is Ronnie Lambosa Morgan bidding you
good day,
and
let's keep learning. Blessed Sunday, everyone.
Sunday,
Happy
everyone.
Independence Day.
I think, sir, photo ops po muna tayo. Stop
Okay,
po muna
okay.
sharing.
So, yeah.
So, paki-open po ng ating cam.